Uganda has one of the highest school dropout rates in sub-Saharan Africa. The 2012 UNESCO report put it at 68%, just second behind Chad at 72%. And Mauritius and Botswana returned the lowest percentages at 2% and 7% respectively. Studies conducted in Uganda show that pregnancy is one of the major causes of schoolgirl dropouts. Some of these studies include Grant and Holman, 2008, Ahichire and Madanda, 2011, Batembia et al. 2014, Stolbono et al. 2015, and the Ministry of Education and Sports in Uganda, 2015. And a study commissioned by FAWE Uganda, that is Forum for African Women Educationalists, in 2011. In that study, 34% of the teachers and 65% of the students said that pregnancy is the major cause of dropout. On a national scale, the Uganda Health and Demographic Survey of 2012 showed that 14 to 19-year-olds, 24% of them at the time of the survey were either pregnant or had had their first birth. And of these, the highest prevalences were in Karamoja, in the northeastern part of Uganda, and in eastern Uganda, and in the central eastern part of Uganda. Here we had percentages as high as 29.7 to 30.6%. Now, of these girls who were found pregnant in that study or at the time of that survey, it was also noted that the girls from the poorer households were more likely to be pregnant as opposed to those from the wealthier households. And these were in percentages of 36 to 16%. Then the same survey also noted that for the girls who were in a marriage relationship, there were 20% girls as opposed to 2% boys. Now these statistics are alarming because 14 to 19-year-olds are supposed to be in school. And that got me questioning, what happens to these girls? We all know the dividends that come with every extra year that you send a girl to school. There are dividends for the girl, for her family in future, for her children, for the economy, for the environment, the pay she'll get, her self-esteem. The list is numerous. And yet, here are these girls dropping out of school. So I asked, what happens next? And in asking these questions, in trying to find an answer, that is how, in 2012, I got to learn about Alisa Chan and Pade Girls Academy. Pade Girls Academy is perhaps the only school in Uganda and East Africa where pregnant girls, child mothers, and their children study in the same environment. So in 2012, I set off for Pade District. Pade District is 407 kilometers from the capital city, Kampala. And it's one of the districts that was hardest hit by the Lord's Resistance Army War of Joseph Kony. So we went, traveled 2.5 hours into the journey. We stopped at a place called Mijera, had a health break, had something to eat, and we continued on our journey. And about 2 health breaks later and many, many kilometers later, we arrived in Pade when it was getting dark. The following day in the morning, I got to meet my host, Alisa Chan, And she took me to her organization, Christian Counseling Fellowship, CCF. And we met under a tree. Why under a tree? She told me that this is where it all began. In 2002, a group of Christian women in Pade district had got together and they had formed the Christian Counseling Fellowship, CCF. And in 2003, right under that mango tree, young girls returning from captivity came to this tree as a place of solace. They would come, many of them with babies or pregnant, some of them as young as 12 years old. And under this tree, they would be given small things to help them through life. Baby shawls, pieces of soap. But many of these girls were traumatized because many of them had become sex slaves to the LRA rebels. Many of them had become combatants. And they were not being accepted in the community. So between 2003 and 2006, CCF started psychosocial support for these girls. And then they realized that even in the community, people were not willing to help these girls. Because many of them said that you are associated with the rebels. You have children of the rebels, supposing they come after us. Others said that you have kin, evil spirits. We don't want anything to do with you. Yet they had children to look after, themselves children. And so at that time, a vocational section was started by CCF. But as they took these girls through the vocational training, they also realized that some of them were bright and were willing to go back to school. So in 2008, Pade Girls Academy was born. And after giving me this background to the academy, Alice took me to the school. We started off by going to the dormitory where the girls sleep. And in the dormitory, we found a girl with a baby. The rest of the girls had gone to class. And Alice told me that the girls sleep with their babies so that they can breastfeed them and they can bond. And if a baby is unwell, a girl can stay with her in the dormitory. She told me that when the girls wake up, they clean the babies, the girls head for the classroom, and they take their babies to the Early Childhood Development Center. So from the dormitory, we moved to the Early Childhood Development Center. And here we found babies between 6 months and 2-year-olds being looked after. They were caregivers there. And from the Early Childhood Development Center, we moved to the classroom. In between, I was told that when the girls bring the babies to the center, if a baby cries or is upset, they can get the baby to go to the classroom so that she is soothed and she's with the mother. And there you can see some of the girls with their babies. So the girls are always given their babies. That was at one of the functions where the girls came to, but schoolgirls allowed to look after their babies. And on this particular visit in 2012, we found one of the girls in the classroom with her baby. And they were normal girls, like you can see, young girls in their school uniforms, but with babies and back from the war. Then from the classroom, we moved on and we went to the vocational section. The vocational section had been started mainly to help girls who had dropped out at a very low level, because the ones who dropped out at the secondary school level were taken through an accelerated learning program. It's like a bridging program which enables them to catch up, and then they can go and rejoin the class where they dropped out. But those ones who are at a very low level are taken into the vocational section so that they're able to learn a skill and to look after their babies. And here we found girls who were baking, we found girls who were sewing, and there was one girl in particular, Jane, who had completed her vocational studies. And Jane told us that she supplies bread to Paddy Town. She's able to live a life of dignity, to look after her baby. But what really touched me was that Jane has become a change agent. She goes out into the communities and talks to the other girls and tells them that don't get pregnant. It's not an easy road to get pregnant at an early age, to drop out of school. So despite the trauma she went through, she is able to go and talk to other girls. She also talks to girls within the academy as a peer educator, telling them that do not get a second pregnancy. Complete your education and see how to look after yourself and your children. And from the classroom, the vocational section, we went to the head teacher's office. And there on the walls were photographs of the Paddy girls with trophies. They'd won in sports. They were performing well academically. And Alice told me that these girls were actually performing some of the best performers in Paddy districts. The school was doing very well. So as I went back, I thought, what can I do to be a small piece of this change, to help bring down the statistics that 24% of the 14 to the 19-year-olds. And I purpose that each time I get an opportunity to speak at a forum like this one, each time I get a platform, I talk about this good model.